Hi guys, thanks for tuning into the channel today. Today we're talking about the Honda CB500X, which ran from roughly 2013 up to 2023, so a 10-year lifespan for this particular bike. And overall they found it a good, reliable bike. In actual fact, I had four of them, and I actually had the 2018 model, 2019, 220 and 2022. So I went through four different ones. A fair bit of difference between the bikes, like compared to the first model, the 2018, up until the last one, 2022. So there's not much that can go wrong with these bikes, and there's some people out there that's done well over 100,000 kilometres on them and trouble-free. There are a couple of niggle areas where you might get caught up with two or three items, and I might go in and explain that. So if you're a newcomer and you're thinking you're out there looking at the moment, and you're thinking of buying a Honda CB500X, I can only sort of comment on what's the going rate in Australia, but at the moment I think there's roughly about 85 bikes for sale in bike sales, and they range in price from about 4,000 up to a little bit over 10,000. So 4,000 for one of the very early models, and naturally 10 grand for the latest, and I think almost latest and greatest, because I was very impressed with the last one, the 2022 model. But we can go through them and I'll tell you about it, and I'll also, like if you're first time here and you're looking at things that possibly to look for which could go wrong with the bike and some things that you might have to do, we'll stay tuned and we'll go into that too. By the way, if you find this video helpful on the Honda CB500X, by all means you might be interested in subscribing to the channel, or if you like, you might even like to give it a thumbs up, and that would be appreciated too. And, leave a comment, tell me what you think about the bike and how many kilometres you've put on it since you've owned it. So that'd be sort of handy. Is anyone out there that's done over 100,000 Ks on the bike they've purchased? If so, leave a comment. Now, while we're at it, we'll talk about a few known issues. So one that always springs to mind with these CB500Xs and a couple of the other ones with the same type of motor is water pump leakage. Now, it's just something you've got to put up with. I suppose you'll either get one or you don't, but if I was out there buying a used bike, first thing I'd be looking on the side there and just check out there's no leakage of fluid out there. I think it's a fairly straightforward change, so it's not as if it's as bad as the second one, which would be a countershaft seal. So if that's leaking, you're probably in a little bit of a world of pain there, because it's a serious job there where if you want to try and stop that leak, you would have to really, so they say, pull the motor, split the case, and then come into it and fix it up that way, which would turn out to be a pretty expensive job. But, I was one day on the net there reading around, and I just bumped into a forum, and there's this guy there that had one of those countershaft seal leaks, and this could work, it could not, but what he said he did, and it might be true, it might not, but it may be worth a try just the same in case you're in that situation. It's going to cost you a packet of cash to get it. So he got to the stage where he got down to that seal there, give it a good clean up, and after that he'd actually been down to the local shop there, bought himself a new seal, and he used some sort of a glue and pushed that new seal up against the old seal and sort of glued it in place over it. And the story goes by him that he rode it after that quite a few thousand miles with no sign of leakage at all. Now, if I was in the situation and mine started leaking or anything like that, I would give that one a go, because there's a bit of a ridge around the original seal. Once you pull it out, you damage it that much and you can't push it back in the same way. But this idea of putting a new seal over that one cost you only a few pennies, you could say. And what he said could have been telling the truth, and everything was right, and he was really happy about what he did. But he did say he did high kilometres after that one, or miles, and everything worked well. So, like I said, if you're in that situation, what have you got to lose about? I don't know what a seal costs, but it wouldn't cost much, and he never mentioned what type of glue he used, but geez, I tell you what, if I was in that situation, I'd definitely try it just to see what happened. Yeah, so I think there are two major things. If anything's liable to go wrong, that'd be the main area. All the other sort of things would be just general wear and tear, and like change sprockets, anything like that, air filters, they'd be all sort of fit into that category tyres that, you've got to put them pull them off and put new stuff in or on, and that's all there be to it. So talking of tips, here's a good one. So for, say, roughly $40 US or $60 Australian, why not fit a 16-tooth front sprocket to your CB500X? And in doing so, not only will you improve the vibration side at a lower, more acceptable level, it also drops the revs down by about 500 at 100 kilometres an hour. So you'll be travelling at 100 k's, a little bit over, say, 4,500 revs compared to around that 5,000 without it. So that's a big plus there if you want to go into that line there. Now, I did actually put 16 tooth on two of the bikes, and one of them I had no trouble with the guard which surrounds the sprocket, but on the other one, for some reason, I had to get out the angle grinder and just trim a little bit off on the inside so the 16 tooth cog would clear it. So that was a bit strange. It was okay on one bike and not so on the other. But, that's no big deal. It only takes a couple of seconds to do that. No damage to the bike or anything like that. You just take the panel off, give it a slight trim if it looks like it's catching or bumping, and you're in business. And for $60, that's a really good mod and well worth doing. Yeah, so I think there are two major things. If anything's liable to go wrong, that'd be the main area. All the other sort of things would be just general wear and tear, and like change sprockets, anything like that, air filters, they'd be all sort of fit into that category tyres that, you've got to pull them off and put new stuff in or on, and that's all there be to it. So if we talk now on the service side of it, because that's fairly handy for somebody coming along thinking for the first time. Now on these Honda CB500Xs, they say the service interval is 8,000 mile or 12,000 kilometres. Now, I don't know, I would never, I wouldn't do that to a car, so let alone a motorcycle, run at 12,000 kilometres before I decide I'm going to do an oil and filter change. I mean, one of the cheapest safety features of your bike is good quality oil in it, and I think, like I usually run them at maximum 5,000 kilometres, and it doesn't cost you that much to buy the oil, and it doesn't cost that much to buy the filters. So why would you want to put an engine through the stress of throwing an extra 7,000 k's on it when it's a quick job, easy job to do, and out of the way? So that would be the easy side of it, where, you do it quite regularly. Well, I'd think it is if you want to, go for the long haul and have the bike for a long time. When you get onto the spark plugs and valve checks, that's a little bit difficult with these bikes because you've really got to know what you're doing, and unfortunately with the CB500X motor, instead of having normal nut and twist type valves like a lot of the older bikes have got, these ones have got shims on them, and shims are really, I don't know, I've never had nothing to do with shims, but once I was talking to the dealer about what it would take to get the shims adjusted, and he put me down and said it's something like it would take 3 hours of labour to go into it, do those, and up. So, I would have thought it would have cost, when he told me that, somewhere around about $400 or something just to go in and do a check. Now, they're at 25,000 kilometres, but while, you get to that stage, the spark plugs are supposed to be changed too at that 25,000 K. So the idea would be, once again, I think it takes about a couple of hours to get to the spark plugs because you've got to rip all that stuff off to go down through the top and then get them that way. So that's not an easy job either. So what I would say that if you were going to do a spark plug change, a good idea would be to pay a bit extra and put iridium spark plugs in it, which are supposedly good for 100,000 kilometres, and you won't have to come back there any time and jump into it and saying, oh no, it needs a new set of plugs now, it's starting to miss or anything like that. And so I would say, if you were getting one of these in and getting the dealer to do the valve check, a smart idea then would be to say, whip in a set of iridium spark plugs. I remember I had a high ace, I've still got it, the high ace van, and it's hard to believe I had a leak in the, just going in from the manifold there at the top of it there, and the mechanic had to pull, I think it was a 3-hour labour job, pulling it right down to that. And hard to believe, I come back to pick the car back up, and he said to me, yeah, the job's done, everything's right, but he said, you'll need a new set of spark plugs shortly, because he said they've been there a while by the looks of them. And I was thinking, what a FW that he was there right at it. Why didn't he just put bloody 4 plugs in it, put it back together and say, this is what it's going to cost you, and now you've got to bring it back and go all through that procedure and do it again. So a good idea, like I said, go for Iridium. They'll get you 100,000 Ks, especially seeing it takes so long to get into this spot. And, you'll be a very happy camper there and glad you breathe a bit of extra money out for peace of mind. So that's about all I can tell you on that side of it there, but we'll have a look at the models now. And like I said, I had 2018, 2019, 20, and then the 22, so 4 in total. And, if you're in the market and you want to buy one, I'll just give you an idea what I thought about them, and you could decide later on, which way you'd like to go, and, I'll probably tell you what I think what my pick was, and it depends on your budget. So to give you an idea before we get on to that, I had a good check on, I think there was 80 bikes available here in Australia at the moment, and they range from $4,000 for a 2013 model, right up to around about a 23 model for a little bit over 10. So that's the price range they fell into. And like all things, it depends on how many owners, condition, how many kilometres it's travelled, and more importantly, no damage to it. So that's something for you to look at. So we'll just have a quick look at those 4 models, and I'll just tell you what I thought about them. So let's swing back to 2018, and to kick off my CB500X adventure, I walked into the local Honda dealer and seen this bike here showing now on the floor. Now it had a ticketed price of $8,500. I looked at it and I thought, geez, that looks pretty big compared to the classic 500 singles I've been riding. And I thought it looked pretty good. Colour was nice. Everything about it was nice and neat. So I thought to myself, I might have a crack at one of these and get into one of these Honda CB500Xs, which is exactly what I did. Now, got out on the road, rode it around, and really enjoyed the experience of riding it. And I thought it had really good power for about 47 horsepower, and I think I clocked up about 1,000 kilometres in roughly 2.5 weeks on it, maybe close to 3. So this is where the sort of crap hit the fan, you could say. I walked back into the dealer again to tell him I'd like to book it in for the service about 3 weeks later. Looked on the floor, and they've got a grey one on the floor, and I said to him, what's this, the optional colour too on it? No, he said, that's the new 2019 model. And I'm thinking to myself, bloody 2019 model, and there was no mention about that one. What a mistake I've made here, because it looked nice and slim and it wasn't quite as bulky as the 2018 model. And I think it was only around about $400 dearer. So, and had a huge amount of upgrades. And I'll go to the upgrades now. So, cut a long story short, this red one only lasted, I think, a couple of weeks after that, and I went back and bought that gunmetal grey metallic, showing now, and I ended up selling the red one privately. But I was pretty happy with the red one until I seen the new model sitting there, and I felt like I'd been done.